Speaking of which, you just had your Saturn return. You just finished that up. How was
Yeah,
it?
it was in 2010 that it happened. It took me about a year, and that was I can say that it changed my life around, to be honest. I was 29 then, and I started my career, and I had to give up some bad habits, and I became much more serious. I became committed in life, in relationships, and everything. Before that, I was a bit of a free electron, to be honest. So everyone who thinks their life is a failure and haven't had their Saturn return yet, once Saturn return comes, actually, they can very much put their life into order. And especially if they have their ascendant in Aquarius or Capricorn, because Aquarius and Capricorn are ruled by Saturn. So for those people, life gets better only after their Saturn return at 29, 30 onwards. This is the time they organize their life. Before that, they might be a bit of a slow starters or a bit like unblossomed or a bit, I cannot say losers exactly, but they can be a bit not so focused yet. And when Saturn matures, after 30 onwards, after 35 onwards even, their life gets better and better. And because my ascendant is Aquarius, so this is what happened when I got the Saturn return. It meant like a personal birthday for me and a new beginning for me. And not for everyone is going to have the same strong influence, you know. You need to have either Capricorn or Aries, or Capricorn and Aquarius, or have ascendant in Capricorn or Aquarius, or moon there, and then the Saturn return has a great impact on you, greater than for other people. But that was the time when I put everything in order, and I did it with a lot of resistance because I was just used to partying a lot and just having fun before that and living like a life of joys, and I don't know how joyful it is. But
you were a James Bond villain. You were basically, what you're saying is, prior to your Saturn return, you were like one of the James Bond villains, and after the Saturn return,
not exactly the villain. I'm too naive for a villain. You know, it's probably one of the girls at the party of James Bond. You know.
Oh, okay. So you were, but now you have matured into the more of the. Now you are, rather than be one of the girls at the James Bond party, you are like the astrological MI6. You know,
that's funny.
So rather, like, if I was president,
giving him direction,
right? If I was president, would I call? You know, obviously you got the CIA and all these other people to call, like, to tell you what's going on. But I would call. So I'm going to call Lada Duncheva over in London, and call the MI6, get info, whatever they need to tell me about whatever's going on, and then I'm going to call Lada, and if I get the real deal, what's going on astrologically. So
I like that.
Yeah, so Saturn.
It gives such a depth to me, and I don't have this depth because I'm so kind of one-dimensional, because all my chart is made of male signs, so I'm like an open book. I like the mystery out to me, which I.
Well, yeah, but don't you have some? You have some eighth house, don't you have eighth house planets? I think I remember there was like a.
Yes, I have.
So
the self-destructive tendency, indeed. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
And the mystery code but all the planets in my planets are in male signs, which is fire and air. And when you have a woman like that or a man, they kind of. First of all, most of the planets, when all of them in male signs only. There aren't many complications within the person. So basically what they think, they do it, and they basically it's out there. You don't have to dig deeper. But if people have clashing signs, like more signs from water and fire, or earth and, fire, or, air and water, all those female and male signs clashing, or if they have more female signs, there is more depth in it. And, I'm a very straightforward, one-dimensional person, and it makes life less complicated for me, but I'm kind of very predictable, so to speak. Excitable, but predictable, which, and it's also, I'm someone who is very active, and everything you express outside, I express it very directly, while people with more female signs, they can keep it in. And I'm fascinated by people and by men with more female signs, or women as well, because they have more self-control, more depth, more kind of withdrawal, and they're not fully expressing everything out, and there's mystery there, you know. But sometimes it can be frustrating for themselves because of all the energy they're keeping within themselves, you know, and because they don't have this get up and go so much as well sometimes.
Yeah, I have my sun, Jupiter, and Mercury are all in Cancer. But my moon, midheaven, I have moon on 20 degrees Aries right on the midheaven. And, it's like a constant...
You have, like, very clashing energies, huh?
Oh, yeah. I call it the Cancer, Sun, Aries, Moon, the crab of war combination.
The crab of war.
Yeah. Storming the Bastille and repelling the stormtroopers, if I want to get overly dramatic, because the Bastille was stormed when the sun was in Cancer and moon was in Aries. And this guy, well, you're in London, so I guess I can tell you this story. This guy, he was like, he's not very well known. He was considered like the least, it's interesting what you said about the withdrawn part for men with the water signs. This guy was like the least known chief of the Secret Service back in World War II, and he planned this whole network where if like Hitler had invaded, it was like the last ditch way to repel Hitler. And there was a documentary of, anyway, so he was Cancer, Sun, Aries, Moon. But what you were saying about being a woman with a lot of Aries in your chart. So here's a lot of fire, a lot of male signs. So here is from Jefferson Anderson's book. For folks, if you want to know what she's talking about in a little more explicit way, this is for Aries, Sun, Leo, Moon, which is Lada's Sun-Moon combination. Ahem. You are a born leader, and you have all the qualities it takes to be one. Magnetism, determination, and boldness. You crave attention, and you express yourself dramatically and flamboyantly. And if you see... Speaking of which, did you get the video I sent you about the meteor that flew over Northern California last night?
No, I haven't opened up my
yeah. So the meteor...
I had 200 tonight. So.
Oh, yeah, I bet you do. And the meteor went over basically right over here. I live about an hour outside San Francisco, and everybody in San Francisco saw it. And people were like, oh, my God, does this mean the world's in... I was like, no, it means Lada Duncheva is going to be on the show tomorrow. It's a sign.
Ooh, a star is born.
That's right, exactly.
I hope I'm not a falling star, though, crash and burn, you know.
No, I don't think that. No. Speaking of people crashing and burning, emotional stability. You have some videos on YouTube about how to spot emotional... Yeah, and I think that I'm very emotionally stable. People who have been around me might beg to differ. So I was hoping that you could tell me how I can use astrology to prove that I'm right and they're wrong.
Okay. Well, this is actually a technique which I learned from my teacher Ernst Wilhelm, and he learned it from some old books like on Vedic astrology. But though we use it with Western astrology, because astrology is one, it works. Some techniques in Vedic astrology, not the very technical ones and complicated, but some techniques they're actually. They're the same as in ancient Babylon astrology, Chaldean astrology, and ancient Hellenic Greek astrology. So when I started going into those old astrology books, the ancient Greek astrology books, they call it Doriphoria in the ancient Greek books. And the Vedic astrologers, they say, no, only we have that. But it's not true. Actually, Greek astrology and Vedic astrology are very similar, and this is where the Western astrology comes from the Greeks. So I feel very free to translate those, to use those techniques with tropical astrology, and it does work perfectly. And what happens is, and it's very logical, basically, you feel it. The moon shows your emotional well-being, how you react to anything that's happening to you. The moon is the emotions, your reactions, your self, the personality. In what way do you react when something new comes your way, or when something happens out of the ordinary, or your automatic reactions, immediately what you will do. So that's why it shows you emotional stability. And for a person to be emotionally stable, they need to have a planet in the sign before or in the sign after the moon, not in the same sign as the moon, but before or after. Because when there is a planet in the same sign as the moon is so receptive, it's like a sponge. The emotional side, it kind of gets blinded by the energy of that planet. It becomes too much of it. I'll talk a little bit what happens when a planet is in the same sign as the moon. Even if they're 30 degrees, 29 degrees away in the two directions of the sign, you still feel it because it's like being in the same room. And if I'm playing loud music in the same room, you're going to hear it, But if I'm in the other room and there is a wall between us, even if I'm next to the wall, I'll hear it much more muffled. So what matters is that there is a planet on the other side, on the both sides, on one side or the other side of the moon. So in the sign before or after the moon. Because we don't want that loud blaring of the planet, because the moon is sensitive, it's receptive, it's your receptions, its perceptions, your emotional, receptivity. And you want the music to be, and you want when there is a planet in the next sign, this planet acts like a buffer. So something is thrown out at us. Something new happens, or someone comes and says to you, you're deep in a thought, someone comes and says to you, hi, and you have no planet around the moon, you might jump even, you might react more, it might take you a little bit to regain your balance when you're faced with something new, changes in your life. The moon is a planet of adaptation. When something is happening, a change, you need to be able to rely on something to adapt quickly, And people who have planets on the two sides of the moon, they meet those new things that come into their life, or those changes, constant changes. It might be from someone putting the sound up or down, or from any kind of state of change that you're going through. When you have a planet in the sign before or after the moon, you have like a crutch, like a buffer through which to react to this new thing, to this change in your life. For example, what happens, say you have your moon in, where is your moon?
20 Aries.
It was in Cancer.
No, it's 20 Aries.
Okay. And imagine if you have in Taurus, for instance, Venus. Well, such a person next to the moon, well, such a person when change is happening in their life, something is thrown at them, or even if it's like your girlfriend puts you've been quietly reading a book and she puts the TV and it's been preset on a very loud sound, and you kind of, if someone there are no planets around the moon, they'll feel a bit disturbed, and that it will take them a bit to adjust to that. But with someone who has the Venus, for instance, in the sign before or after the moon, what happens is that they react to changes with Venusian qualities. This is their crutch, this is their buffer. So it means like something new happens, a new person comes, approaches them to talk, they become charming, they know how to behave with the person, what to say, and they keep up composure. They have a sense of coolness about them, but coolness which is charming coolness, not like detachment. They kind of know how to balance themselves emotionally through Venusian qualities, and Venus is also it's the planet that comforts you, so they can comfort themselves during change, and it happens for seconds sometimes, but you immediately know you have this resource to turn to, and they approach emotionally they're centered through Venus. And they react with charm, with kindness, with more benevolence, these Venusian qualities, with more comfort. Or if you have Mars, for instance, in the sign preceding or after your moon, say you have Mars in Pisces and you have your moon in Aries. Well, in that case, the person will have as a buffer and as a crutch the planet Mars to react emotionally. So such people might be a bit more temperamental, but they react in a way which is not aggressive. For instance, if you have the Mars in the same sign as the moon, then Mars is too loud, and the cruel qualities of Mars, which are a bit of aggressiveness, of irritation, such person would react when there is Mars in the same sign as the moon with much more anger, irritability, nervousness, and some of the more negative qualities of Mars will be exhibited. While when Mars is one in the sign next to the moon, it will act its positive qualities because it's muffled and it kind of is the protection between the outside world that comes with an impression towards you and the moon. So you would react with strength to those things. You'd keep up your courage, and you'd react. How do I say? You'd be
steady.
Even sometimes, yeah. Well, Mars is not a very steady planet. But it will stabilize your emotions, and when you're confronted with something new, when you have Mars next to the moon, in the sign next to the moon, the person will be able to take lead, to do whatever is necessary. Say, for instance, someone tells you, well, your grandmother has passed away, and you have Mars next to the moon, such person can activate themselves, organize the funeral. Oh my God, what an awful example I'm giving.
Oh, it's
sorry.
okay.
I don't know why.
No,
but
hey, there's a lot of folks
while
passing
someone
these
without,
days.
yeah. So someone without any planets next to the moon will need much longer time to adjust to the news and, to emotionally stabilize, while a person with Mars will take action, will take heart and do what's right and go and solve problems, Someone with Mercury to the signs next before the moon or after the moon, there'll be someone who answers to new situations with wittiness, or someone tells them something which they don't like, they'll answer back with a humorous gesture or with a witty remark. They'll talk their way out, they'll talk their way out of a new situation, or they stabilize their emotional well-being through intellectual, through ways, through their mind, or for instance, something new is thrown out of them. Instead of the moon panicking, it uses Mercury, which is its knowledge. It rummages in seconds. The memory, which is moon, rummages in seconds and finds all the relevant information it has gathered over the years of living, which is Mercury. Mercury is the information that you keep, and it throws it back. So it immediately kind of thinks what is the right thing to do, how to manage, organize things, how to kind of respond through the database they have in their head. So that they react cleverly. And someone has Jupiter in the sign before moon or after. Well, such people will react with a kind of tolerance when something is thrown at them new, with composure due to their faith and belief in life, it doesn't have to be in your faith, it doesn't have to be someone religious, but somehow they think, it's okay, I'll be able to deal with this. Jupiter is this planet which trusts in itself. It has confidence. Jupiter is the planet of feeling connected within yourself, and being tolerant, being wise, knowing that everything will be okay, not panicking. When Saturn is in the sign before or after the moon, sorry, I forgot to mention something. But if Jupiter, for instance, is in the sign with the moon, so it's very loud then, it's in the same sign, not in the sign before or after, then such a person, it will be still stabilizing, but it's a bit too much, a bit too much of optimism. I have my father who has Jupiter and Moon together. He's overly optimistic for everything, He's overly the top sometimes, but it still anchors you. Even a planet in the sign of the Moon anchors you, but sometimes it can anchor you emotionally through its negative qualities over the top,